Hi crafters, welcome back. Thanks for joining me today. This is Jonna with Purple Girl Crafts. Today we're going to make this 3-panel tier card. This does stand up. I did add some legs to the back of it just to help it to stand. It requires no die cuts for the mechanism of the card. The only die cuts are for any of the embellishments that you may be using. This card does measure 5 by 7, so let's get started. So the first thing we need is our scoreboard. And our first piece, our base piece, is going to be cut at 11 by 5. And then on the 11-inch side, we are going to score this. And we are going to score this at 1.5, 2, 3.5, 4, 7, 7.5, 9, and 9.5. And this is what you should end up with, your 5 sections with your 1/2-inch mark in between each. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to set that aside, and now we're going to start cutting some of our pieces. So for the first piece, we need one piece that is cut at 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. And then we need a layer on that, which is 2.5 by 4.5. Then we need 2 pieces. These are cut at 1 3/4 by 5 inches. We're going to turn this back around, and we are going to score this at 1/2 inch on the 1 3/4 inch side. And we'll do it on the other piece, score it at 1/2 inch. And they'll sit on your card on those are the back legs that I had talked about. Okay, then we need 4 pieces, and these are cut at 1 1/4 by 4 3/4. And then we will need 4 pieces, and these are cut at 1 by 4.5. And this will be for your mats and then your layers. So we are done with the scoreboard, so we're going to move that out of the way. And we're going to focus on the card base first. So all you're going to do is you're going to turn these upward, making sure that your lines are even, and then crease out all these score marks. It doesn't matter which way you do these. You can do them both the same way because you can just fold them the opposite direction when you start folding the card, but you do want it to be up and down on each one, or mountain valley. So you'll have that shape. So again, so for the next side, so I'm just going to do the second one. I'm going to fold it inward, making sure that my lines are even, crease it out, and then I'm going to fold the other one the other direction. And again, I wouldn't worry about it too much because once we have this, we can refold them and shape them. You just want to do this so you do have your score marks, and you want to crease it on both sides. So it almost looks like a set of steps. So again, first one I'm going in, and then I'm going to go under, flip it over, or you can do it that way. I like to flip it just to make sure that my edges are even with the edge of the paper. And we'll finish out these last 2. And again, see, so I have mine backwards, so it goes up and down. So this is the shape you should end up with. And again, I always like to just, once again, crease all those score marks just one more time. And then I will turn it over and do the same thing. This will just help the card stand up much better. Okay, so that is for the base piece of the card, and that's how it'll stand. Now it gets a little flimsy when you add embellishments to the front. That's why we are going to add the legs to the back, and I'll show you that in a second. So let me grab those two pieces. The next two pieces that we're working with are the pieces that we had scored that 1/2 inch mark on, and these are going to be for the legs of the card. So we're just going to crease those out. Now, if you had pattern paper, you'd want to make sure you crease them, going the right way, but this is just plain paper, so it's okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take these and we're going to glue these to the end of the card. And we're going to glue it to the back side of the card, so it just has that little leg to stand on. Is basically this is all this is for. So we're going to glue them to the end of the card just like this, lining up that edge with the edge of the card. So I'm going to grab my glue and I'm only going to put glue on the edge of this, on that 1/2 inch flap that we did. And then I'm just going to line it up so it's even with the edge of the card. Now if you accidentally had glued this on the wrong side and you realized it, you could just turn all your score marks the opposite way and make that the back of the card. So don't worry about it unless you have pattern paper. This doesn't really matter as long as you get both of these on each end and lined up with the edge of the card. So I'm making sure that, again, this is lined up so it doesn't show through on the other side. This is why it's good to use wet glue on this, because you have a little bit of wiggle room to move your paper around. Okay, so that is the card so far, just the base of the card. So I'm just going to pull this out just so we can lay it flat so we can put all of our mats and layers on. So I've gone ahead and put tape on the back of all of my pieces already. The plain paper is going to go in the back, and then the pattern paper will be on top of that for the layer. And then on here, what I did is I numbered these so that I had them in the right order for when I cut it so that the pattern would flow evenly. So I'm just going to line these up, making sure they're in the right direction. And then I'm going to fast forward all of this, and we're going to glue this down. So once the mats and layers are down, you're going to have to reshape this because you put pressure on it, so it's not going to fold as right away, but you'll just have to kind of work with it and get it to fold back up. Next, we'll work on the embellishment. I have used just a couple of different things. I've used the R Memory Keepers label maker for the embellishments. And what you want to do is you want to lay your stuff out before you do any cuts or any final adjustments. Just kind of lay your pieces out and see where you want them. So right now I'm going to put the banners just like this. I'm going to put the bear sitting on top as the centerpiece of the card. And then I've got the fishing pole and I've got the white picket fence. So that's kind of where I want to lay these. So I'm going to move everything back out of the way and I'm going to work on the banners first, or the sentiments. So I want these to line up so that the arrow piece is on the edge of the card and then lined up with the bottom of the paper, and I'll do one on the top. So I'm just going to grab my glue. Maybe we should cut these first. So we're going to put one on the top and then one on the bottom. And you want to make sure these are lined up. So I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to line it up so it's at the edge. And then I'm going to grab my pencil. I'm just going to put a pencil mark where it's lined up with the edge of the paper, and I'm just going to trim those down. So I'm going to grab my trimmer. And then I'm just going to cut these at 2.5. And we'll cut both pieces at the same time. And then just get rid of those 2 extra pieces. So now I'll grab the card again. And one's going to go at the bottom, the arrow will be facing to the left, and then one will go at the top and the arrow will be facing to the right. Just like that. You could have them hanging over, and I thought that would be a good idea at first, but I didn't like the way it looked, so I cut these back. And you know, you could leave yours longer, you could make them however you want. No, this is just to inspire you for something different and some unique cards that are out there. Okay, so now for the picket fence, I'm just going to glue these to the bottom. I'm only going to glue to the 4 pieces, and they fit just perfectly in that little area. And I'll leave a link down below where everything can be purchased. So I'm just gluing these just with the white glue. I'm not over gluing these because I don't want the glue to come out from underneath the picket fence. Okay, so the last one is now glued down, and now we're going to work on the bear. And again, you want to reshape this a couple times just to make sure that everything is lined up. Make sure your fence is lined up. So now I'm going to take just some clips. I'm just going to hold this down with the clips just so that it's flat. So when I glue the bear down, I can see, make sure that I get him on straight. You don't need to do this, and I'm just doing it just because it was just easier to work with. Okay, so the bear is going to sit on the front of the card, and his little fish is hanging just off of a piece of string that I just glued to the back of his hand. So I'm going to glue him right about there. I kind of want him tipsy-turvy. And again, I'm just laying these out just to find the best place to put them. I'm going to use the quick grab glue because I have time to move it around just in case I don't like where I've placed him. So we're going to place him right about there. I'm not going to glue down his fish, and then I'm put the fishing pole right in front of him and underneath his hand so it looks like he's holding on to it. So I'm just going to lift this and just put just a little bit of glue underneath it just to hold it down. And I'm not going to glue down the hook on the fishing pole. So that's the card so far. So next, I decided it needed just a little bit more embellishment. So I think I'm going to put some decorations just on the sides of the card. So I'm grabbed just my regular ink, and I'm just stamping some bubbles, like air bubbles, you know, that you would find in fish, just on the sides of the card, just to add just a little bit more. So that is it. That is the card that we made today. I want to thank you for joining me. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I really look forward to making these videos and you crafting along. Have a great day, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.